it's so easy for them to fall back into the, patriarchal modes of being, because everybody
It's
expects that.
accepted. No,
Everybody.
Yeah. I want to talk about womanhood at the cost of motherhood. Like, we are almost equal to men.
Yeah.
We are able to move, to shake, to see, to do until we become mothers. And suddenly, whether we are conditioned to, or the world around us or the people in our homes make it impossible to choose any other way, we let that motherhood role supersede everything for some time. And that is the true meaning of she let herself go. It's not like, she just didn't comb her hair. She let herself go. And then what happens 2 decades later, when it's time to find that woman again? You're juggling your own guilt, you're juggling the blame of your children or your husbands or your in-laws. Is there a warning that should go out to younger women?
Yes, there is. And I always warn any young woman who comes my way. Yeah. I tell them,
standing up with a
listen,
cardboard sign, younger women.
Because, for me, having a child was something of an ambition.
Yeah.
Like from childhood, I didn't know whether I wanted a man in my life or not, but I definitely wanted kids.
Are you an eldest child?
I am.
That's why. Hello, welcome to the club. Yeah, even I just wanted a baby. So badly.
Yeah. When I had my kids, I had already done quite a lot of work professionally.
Right.
And I was very comfortable with the fact that I want to take a break. I wanted to take a sabbatical. I wanted to think of other things
And you
that I wanted
started
to do.
working really young.
I started, kind of working immediately while I was doing my college.
In college,
fact.
yeah, correct.
So I had a good, 12, 14 years of really working practically every day.
Yeah.
So I was quite happy to kind of submit to this motherhood.
Gears,
complete motherhood concept. I was happy doing it. But yes, it was my choice.
Right.
Nobody else imposed it on me.
Right.
And when I wanted to get back to work, I realized that, okay, however many choices you make, when you decide to get back to work, it is one of the most difficult and traumatic experiences. Yeah. So the sign that I keep for all young women who want to get married and maybe have kids is that do it when you're very happy with yourself and what you've achieved.
That's beautiful.
If you're unhappy or if you want to achieve something, don't decide to become a mother. Because it is all-consuming.
Yeah.
And if it is not, in a way, I feel that it is like you're standing on two different stools. You're not completely enjoying that process because it's a very enjoyable process.
You're right.
It's a very tiring process. So if you're going to be on the periphery of it and allow other caregivers to raise your kids, and if you're okay with that, then absolutely fine. Then go in for a kid if you have a village to take care of your kids.
Right.
Your tribe
absolutely,
in place.
Right.
But if that's not the case, you're a nuclear family, you're both earning, and then that's a very, very difficult space to be. So that has to be realized, that there'll be times when you have to choose your kids over yourself.
Right.
And what you want to achieve.
And there's no running away from it.
There is no running away. You
no matter
have
how
to
you
do that
it,
because they are human beings.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
You've brought them into the world.
Yeah, and also there is I like the way that, that it is almost taboo today to say that there is a certain fulfillment also in having a child.
Yes.
And please don't cancel me, guys. But you can, and you're right. I think the thing is about being happy with yourself and feeling fulfilled with yourself because it is super hard to go back to work later on.
It is.
Your children only have expectations of you. Forget anybody
absolutely,
else.
Absolutely.
Your child have the biggest asthmatic attack on the day you have the biggest meeting.
Yes. Yeah.
So it is not. It's
not easy.
Yeah, it's not meant for the faint-hearted.
No.
If you raise girls especially, or maybe even boys, but if you raise girls to expect better and to demand better, and then they grow up and they realize that there is no better to be had, you actually, that's what I'm saying, you create a lot of resentment, and some ways it's almost better to indoctrinate them and say now your place is in the kitchen, child.
No, I find that even about honesty, I'm constantly struggling with this, to inculcate a sense of honesty in my kids. And when you see extreme success with people who are very dishonest, as a society, you can't really inculcate those values because you feel ki, arey, if I completely cut down their killer instinct or street smartness, am I creating, people who might not be able to deal with life?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
And
you
so,
worry.
With the girls, will they find a life partner who is equally, has that kind of value?
Yeah. And who is also able to evolve intellectually, right? That's the thing. Like, you get to a stage where you have such ego that you're so happy in your own belief systems, you don't want to evolve.
You don't want. And, as a mother of 2 boys especially, for me, I feel I'm so
glad
responsible.
You have 2 boys. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
More
I have to, I constantly feel that I try my best to kind of make my home gender equal and a lot of, but it's so easy for them to fall back into the patriarchal modes of being because everybody expects that.
No,
everybody.
Yeah, it is.
All the people coming into our house also, maybe to work also, or our staff, or
you're
people
fighting several
you're
battles
constantly fighting all those levels, and I don't want to be one of those really bitter person who keeps just fighting. I want to be a mom who, and I am a mom who kind of enjoys a good laugh and.
But the thing about, like, can I really be a man-hating feminist if I'm raising a son? It's like, it's not the right thing to do either.
And I'm not man-hating, I have my wonderful life partner, and of course there are so many things that we also talk of, and I question certain things when he comes out with, and I say, ki, Arey, why did you have to, kind of, ye chutkula kyun sunaya?
No, but that's because,
so like ancient.
No, but also it gets along. You get married to somebody who is like that as well. Obviously, who complements your thought process.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. When you talk about determinism and free will in the context of your mother's trauma, right? So why is it so hard to look at your mother as a flawed human who is the sum of her experiences? And most of the toughest experiences she will never share with you. Mothers don't tell their children what has really happened to them.
Yeah.
And then when you look at yourself as a product of your mother's flawed upbringing, what happens is you're depersonalizing yourself. It's almost self-hate. Right. I wouldn't be like this if my mother wasn't like that. But your mother's like that because she, whatever.
She has faced something else.
Yeah, so can we be, everyone says, let us be the generation that kind of ends the trauma and all of that. But is it really possible? Like,
I don't think so, because I think we are, as a generation now and the next one, are very judgmental. You can't be judgmental and be open to other people's traumas.
And flaws.
To truly understand them, you have to be less judgmental. So, at individual level, yes, of course. And it's a conscious choice that you have to make, because there are a lot of roadblocks in that way, because it's very difficult to deal with other people's lives, put it into context, and, deal with all of that for your own personal
but
when it is so personal.
I agree. Yeah, no, you're right.
So, that's why people go to therapists, because then, it's a completely objective person who's listening to you. You want a ear who's non-judgmental.
Right.
And that's how therapists are trained. But I feel that, this generation is so quick to actually say what they feel. It's all about their own, being a bit selfish about putting their voice across and point across.
And also they're being fed catchphrases, okay?
Absolutely.
And it's reactive.
Absolutely.
And I'm saying that, even if we try to be the generation that is, like I said, less judgmental and accept our parents saying that, they had a much harder time than they gave us.
Yeah.
Okay. Therefore,
That's true.
Want to, I want my children to know this before they're looking over like me flatlining and saying, no, don't waste my time now. Like, don't mind when I'm around. You know what I mean? So it's almost like, what is the linear progress here on this situation? Like, what's the point of us not trying not to be judgmental?
Yeah.
And understanding that certain things are going to happen. We don't have a choice.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
whereas social media is telling your child that your parent is toxic, your this is that, whatever. And also that whole thing of, like, see, so my question is, you are depersonalizing yourself when you look at yourself only as a product of your upbringing.
Exactly. It's not that.
It's not that.
It's not that. So you have to, I mean, you're not. You can say it as a catchphrase in your own head and blame it on one particular individual, because, to take the blame yourself requires a lot of guts.
Yes.
It requires a lot of guts, and it requires a lot of emotional and intellectual maturity, I would say. People who are not mature, even at the age of 70, cannot accept blame for anything.
Right.
And the only way you can evolve as a person is if you accept your own blame given the circumstances which you had no choice over.
Yes.
So,
or forgive yourself also.
Forgive yourself.
Yeah. Either way,
take
it's
the blame or
responsibility.
forgive. It's the responsibility, Hi, this is Renuka Shahane, and I've had the best conversation with the Swaddle. So tune in to the Best Part podcast and subscribe to the Swaddle.